Sorry for the slow news day today, and I'm just reporting on hot takes, but this might be the most ridiculous one I've seen yet. And also, thank you to everyone that tried or downloaded the app I did a commercial for this morning. I promise I won't do many mobile apps, if any, really. Certainly always looking to replace them with something more physical, like Dollar Shave Club or whatever. But certainly if you download it and give it a try, I'll pin the comment one more time. Maybe they'll stick around. Buys a lot of cat food, and so I appreciate that. Now, this is Chris Plant. He has a birth defect that he is virtue signaling about today, Rage 2 making him feel bad. He has a horrible physical malformation on his face. See how he must walk around all the time and just suffer deeply? He might as well be in a wheelchair. Oh, well, now that you've seen the horribleness that is his face, all of his physical disability, we can read his article. Co-founder Polygon says, Rage 2 is a fun game that makes me feel like garbage. Rage 2 uses my birth defect as a crude shorthand for a mutant freak. Allow me to take a sip of my coffee. That's right. You heard me right. Every time I begin to enjoy Rage 2, it finds a new way to treat me like poop. There's a lot of individual bits I liked about Bethesda's new post-apocalyptic shooter created in the open-world geniuses at Avalanche Studio and the gunplay experts at id Software, and I have no doubt we will be unpacking what makes it open-world click in the coming days, if not weeks. But never has the game so personally, directly bummed me out. Just because a developer listens doesn't mean they hear us. Last summer, I had a chance to talk with id Software studio director Tim Willits about Rage 2 after a relatively straightforward interview running through the game's grab bag of inspirations. The conversation shifted to something more personal, my birth defect. How the game presents it as a crude joke. Rage 2's publishers Bethesda revealed a $119.99 collector's edition that would come with a talking robotic bust of Ruckus the Crusher, one of the game's many Goliath mutants. Like the other Crushers in the game, Ruckus has a gash running from the top of his upper lip through his nose as if his face didn't fully form at birth. What he's talking about is a cleft lip. Now I want to buy this. I really want to buy this. I'm going to live stream. And I'm going to dance around, and if I have to wear pasties, I'm going to earn enough to buy this. And it's going to sit right back there. The mutant, I explained to Wildis, looks like an exaggerated cleft lip and cleft palate. The original Rage used similar imagery for its mutants, and I told Willis how disappointed I felt to see the sequel following the same path. Fiction has long associated clefts with both villainy and mental health disorders. Well, I mean, this thing just writes itself. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, Mr. Plant. You co-founded Polygon, and you're writing this article. I continue. I told how disappointed I felt, and appeared that the Rage franchise would perpetuate this cruel, damaging misrepresentation of a broad audience. Now, by the way, here is the image they show. Okay, this is Chris Plant's horrible face malformation. I assume he had it fixed surgically. I assume it might be why he wears a mustache. But it's not a football-sized goiter coming out of your neck, dude. Let's tone it down a little bit. The interview continues. Tim, so you feel that's a little insensitive? Yeah, it makes me feel a little uncomfortable when it's always the bad guys should have an upper lip and nose removed effectively. Well, I never really thought of that. I mean, we try to make, Kenneth Scott, our art director, Rage 1, and yeah, I kind of feel bad now. Sometimes it's hard when you don't live in that world. And you're like, oh, these guys, so I apologize. And yeah, and no, yeah, I'll talk to the guys. Plant, sure. Are mutations normal for heroes in this version of the game? It's mostly the bad guys, but we do have some heroes in Rage 2 are not as pretty as the heroes from Rage 1. Someone did like the Girls of Rage posters and stuff, so we're trying to be a little more balanced. And the Avalanche guys have been very good. Now, I played a significant amount of Rage 2. I mean, the game, you know, I do want to play it. I'm going to wait for it to be a little bit cheaper, by the way, because I heard that the story mode's really short. I haven't verified that, and I'm sure many of you will tell me in the comment section down below, but I heard it was only like 10 hours, so I'm going to wait for it to be a little bit cheaper, but it does look cool, and I love id Software, so it's something I kind of want to support. Now, I can say with certainty that the, quote, Avalanche guys would not have been very good about being a little more sensitive, or perhaps Willits meant little more in a literal sense, as in they have made the smallest effort. Rage 2 uses cleft lip and palette imagery in the final game is worse than I expected, and certainly worse than its predecessor. I had already mentioned the Crushers, who are both reoccurring bosses and environmental hazards, each of them with the identical facial design. This is a video, I mean, I just want to let this set in. This is a video games journalism website. This is the co-founder of that website, penning this, an article about how his feelings were hurt by the design of the mutants in Rage 2. I continue. I made peace with the Crusher design months ago. I hate it. It's awful. But I understand the crass reality of it. Long before summer, Bethesda leadership felt that Crusher would be a Rage what the silly claptrap is for Borderlands, a clear inspiration for the series, a mascot of sorts. And besides, I thought before diving into Rage 2, how many times could they use this cleft imagery in one game? Well, you know, I guess, look, I don't want to be totally insensitive here, Chris, but I think you might be over-exaggerating the amount of damage. I mean, could this possibly be an article that you wouldn't have written if Bethesda didn't have a contentious relationship with the media? I mean, could you possibly be blowing this a little out of proportion? Is it possible that you're not really offended by it? Because I find it really hard to believe. And on top of that, don't give me that I had to play it because it's my job. That's baloney. If you knew these designs were in the game going into it, you played it anyway, so you forfeited the right to complain about it. You can't say that it hurt my feelings when you went in knowing full well what the designs would look like. Early in the game, I met the scientist riding a humanoid beast. The creature also had a cleft lip. This one less exaggerated, more like my own birth. The creature is covered in its own drool, straw hanging from its mouth. There's a certain Total Recall Quato shtick going on here between the scientist and the creature, but one thing is clear. The beast is meant to be a freak. The intention is for every player to be repulsed. Again, I think you're standing on your quote-unquote birth defect a little too strongly, buddy. When I spoke to Willis last summer, I came away with the conversation feeling optimistic. Here's what I wrote. I recognize that there's a rare opportunity to actually speak creators in person and that there isn't a better means for other people outside my position have had this experience. And I recognize that people of other backgrounds for decades have had to play games that treat them as targets. Oh my God. And they still do. But for that moment, I felt a surge of optimism. If the developers can be open, they can make efforts. You know what he was saying? He was saying in his head, yeah, okay, dude. Okay. Yeah, I'm not really worried about the mutant design in my game. I'm more worried about the game shipping on time, bug free. I'm more worried about, you know, keeping my job and making sure the game runs good, not how one crazy person is pretending to be offended about the design of fictional mutants in a fictional game. On a wall, instead of posters, hang a series of identical mutant busts, all with the same exaggerated cleft. This isn't a crusher of the scientist beast, and the asset, while custom, is not central to the game. Now, I'm no expert in game design, but I feel confident in saying these busts could have been removed with minimal effort. Are you joking, dude? Did you really, Chris, did you really think that they were going to change the game because you were a little offended by how fictional mutants look in a fictional video game? Are you kidding me? And then you see, you know, him tweeting, lots of folks can't wait to play the Rage game. When he's talking about somebody who said, you guys should let someone else review Rage game. You know, someone who isn't going to get hurt over having a cleft lip. You know, Plant, forget you and your cleft lip having butt. Review the game and do your job. I mean, That's a little intense. But again, this is all about Chris Plant being a victim. I mean, obviously, we see, what goes on his Twitter feed. Back at E3, I spoke with the director at ID's Rage's awful depiction of disfigurement, particularly cleft lips and palates. He apologized and said he talked to the team who he described as sensitive. Now, having played Rage 2, I'm guessing that was a short conversation. I don't know why. When video game websites continue to shut down. I don't know. I don't know what happened to Waypoint. I'm not sure what's going to happen to Polygon. Anyway, Rage 2 looks fun. I'll be waiting for the reviews. Certainly the design of the mutants for me is totally fine. Chris, dial down the victimhood a little bit, buddy.